Welcome to RumNCode. My name is Matt, and I fell in love with Qwik and want to show you how easy it is to learn, especially if you're already a React developer. This video will be a brief look at state and signals. Here we have a basic React component that has a count set with useState and a button that can increment its value. I'll walk through the code, explaining key items step by step, and then we'll walk through how to convert this into a Qwik component step by step as well. The next slide will have a side-by-side comparison. I'm declaring the local state example component with the arrow function syntax. We get our count and setCount function from the useState hook, and I'm providing the default value as 0. You render out the value by wrapping the count in curly braces. To update the value of count, we are using onClick to call setCount and provide the value of count plus 1. Now let's convert this step by step to the Qwik equivalent. First, we wrap the local state example component in the component $function, which Qwik uses to help code split and keep the code performant right out of the box. Next, we replace the useState hook with the Qwik useSignal hook. To render the value of a signal, you simply add the dot value inside of the curly brace. To update the value of a signal, we are using the onClick $ and are incrementing the value of the signal directly with count.value++. Here is the final Qwik component. Here's our side-by-side of the difference between a React and a Qwik component. This one is fairly basic, and you can see the code is nearly identical, but I will point out the key differences. In Qwik, we wrap our components in component $. We use signals instead of state. Rendering a signal requires adding the dot value inside of the curly brace. And updating the signal value can be done directly. In this case, we're using ++, but can also provide whatever value we desire. That's all it takes in this simple example. In a lot of cases, we end up needing to pass our state from a parent to a child and also need to be able to update the value from inside of the child. Once again, I will show you the React version, highlight the key aspects of the React code, and step through converting this to Qwik code. The next slide will be a side-by-side comparison of the final results. So let's start converting this to be Qwik code. First, we need to wrap the parent component in the component $function. We update the useState hook to use the useSignal hook. We completely remove the increment function. Then we update the props we are passing to simply pass the count signal. Then we need to update the interface accordingly. Next, we wrap the child component in component $, and update the props accordingly. The button again uses the onClick $ and updates the value of the count signal directly using count.value++. And to render out the value, we simply add the dot value inside of the curly brace. And here's the final Qwik parent and child component. Here's the final side-by-side comparison between React and Qwik parent-child components. The code is very similar and in general, slightly easier to code. We wrap the component with a component $. We replace useState with useSignal. We have no need for the increment function. We only pass the signal to the child. Because we only pass the signal, that's the only prop in the interface. We wrap the child in component $, as well and update the props. We use onClick $ to update the value of the signal directly with count.value++. And to render out the value, we simply add dot value. One quick note is that if we want to keep the state as an object, they have another hook called useStore. Here's an example of how you do the same thing utilizing the useStore hook. Instead of the useSignal, we are using useStore. We pass it to the child essentially the same. The interface takes the store's shape. We deconstruct user data from the props. We increment the count value from user data object directly as before. And you render out the value of the count key from the user data object. That was Qwik. To learn more, check out qwik.dev or play with Qwik in a sandbox, check out qwik.new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.